New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
And hello again, dear ones. Dr. Robert with you here on a Friday evening. It's 5 o'clock on the Mountain Time Zone, and that means it is time for the good news. A weekly look that I get to take and share with you on some of the good news stories that I have found. We can never cover all the good news that I find out there, and each week I bring you a collection of stories that I think will support you in having some wonderful conversations this weekend and sharing the good news out into your lives. If you're here in America, in the United States, it's Memorial Day weekend, so we enjoy that and wish you a happy Memorial Day if that's something you celebrate. All right, let's jump right on into it here this evening. Researchers at Oxford University, scientists have discovered proteins in the blood that could warn people of cancer more than 7 years earlier than currently possible. Now, this is two different studies that happened. In these two studies, researchers identified 618 protein links to 19 different types of cancer, including 107 proteins in a group of people whose blood was collected at least 7 years prior to diagnosis, which means 7 years earlier than detected. These folks had this, we could see this in their blood. The research team discovered that the proteins could be involved in the very earliest stages of cancer when the disease could be prevented. The team believes the breakthrough could not only help treat the disease at an earlier stage, but help prevent it altogether. Now, they used a powerful technique called proteomics, which allows them to analyze a large set of proteins in tissue samples at a single point in time to see how they interact with each other and find any important differences in proteins and their different tissue samples. In the first study, scientists analyzed blood samples taken from more than 44,000 British people, including more than 4,900 people who were subsequently diagnosed with cancer. In the second study, the team looked at genetic data from more than 300,000 cancer cases to do a deep dive into which blood proteins were involved in cancer development and could be targeted by new treatments. They found 40 in all. And are now working to identify how they might develop treatments for those. Now, folks, I love hearing how the technology, how science is evolving and expanding and growing and continuing to learn and become more of what it's always been. I see that same aspect happening with spirituality. We keep meeting that side by side. I love being able to highlight these type of stories. Hey, we do get most of our good news stories over at thegoodnewsnetwork.org. I encourage you to take a visit over there and give them some love and attention they so greatly deserve. They do a great job of curating good news stories and are one of my primary sources for good news in the world. Please check them out. And if you have a good news story you'd like to share, or perhaps you'd like to be a guest on the Good News one Friday evening, please send us an email, goodnews@ntmedia.org. All right, back into it. Scientists in Washington College have found a very exciting experience. It seems that they have always known they had a large group of ground nesting bees on one part of their campus, and no one paid an awful lot of attention to it. Recently, however, they have identified at least 5 different species, all using the same area, and that is what sparked researchers to wake up a little bit. The section of the college green located in front of the east and middle halls is a hot spot for vital pollinators, ground nesting mining bees. And recently, thanks to the keen eye of a love of insects, photographer Pamela Cowart Rickman realized the area had multiple species hanging out. This provides a really unique opportunity to study these bees and how they are interacting as one. She also said, now this is from the studio, we also always talk about providing plants to support native bees and other pollinators, but we rarely think about providing adequate nesting habitat for their survival. These native bees provide beneficial pollination to fruiting trees and plants, not only on the campus, but in the surrounding community. The researcher dedicates a lot of extra time to photograph and document what's happening here. What a cool story. I just love. We do talk about giving space to the bees to come back, and a lot of that requires habitat as well. And what a good news story. I love how things happen. Hey, one of the things we talk about a lot here on this program, and we have since the earliest days, is how nature in various ways it ebbs and flows in its recovery from abuses, and some of that was tied to everything slowing down with the pandemic. However, other things are not. Here's another win. We've reported on these types of stories before. Rats had been eradicated from Tomlin Island about 18 years ago. This is a small piece of island off the coast of Madagascar. It is once again being considered a thriving colony of seabirds. Now, throughout history, Europeans brought rats and rabbits on board their ships, and they ended up on these delicate, pristine island ecosystems. This small, just 1 square kilometer of land, Tomlin Island, is now home to thousands of breeding pairs of 7 different species, including the mouse and red-footed boobies. By 2013, these 2 species had doubled in number from the precarious lows of 2004. In subsequent years, we also have seen increase in white terns, brown nudies, sooty terns, wedge-tailed shearwaters, and lesser oddities. I don't know who names birds, but we need to work on that a little bit. However, experts are saying in terms of conservation, it is a wonderful success. I would have to agree. What a great success that is for nature. And hey, here's an even bigger success for nature. OMG. We want to introduce you to Alok Shukla. He is the founder of Save Hesteo Aranio Resistance Committee. What this is all about is that he is saving land from coal mining in India. Now, as part of the Modi regime's push for a developing economical dominant India, power generation of every sort is being installed in huge quantities. The state government has been investigating 21 proposed coal mining blocks across 445,000 acres of biodiverse forests that provide crucial natural resources to the area's 15,000 indigenous people. Alok took his message directly to the legislature, reminding them through news media coverage of their obligation to India's constitution, which enshrines protection for tribal people in the environments they require to continue their traditional livelihoods. Now, the forest we're talking about is one of the most biodiverse in the country. And Shulak worked closely with some 15,000 members of tribal groups in the forest, beginning with a proposal to create a single protected area called Lemru Elephant Reserve. Now, this would protect elephant migration corridors and cancel 3 of the 21 mining proposals. Now, the company also began a 160-mile protest march down a national highway, and they hadn't even crossed the halfway mark when news reached them that not only was the Elephant Reserve idea unanimously agreed upon, but every existing coal mining proposal had been rejected by the state legislature and all licenses would be canceled. Shulak shares the 2024 Goldman Environmental Prize with 5 other winners from Brazil, the U.S., South Africa, Australia, and Spain. Congratulations, sir. Good work. Sometimes it takes an effort, and Alok put in that effort. Again, thank you, sir, for being on the planet and doing what you're doing. Hey, folks, we're going to take a real quick break, let a couple of our sponsors say hello, and let me have just a sip of water. But we got more good news coming in just a moment after the break. Please don't go away. Stay with us. We'll be right back on the New Thought Media Network.
The New Thought Men's community proudly presents New Thought Men's Summit, Foundations, an online conference, September 22nd through 27th. Register today at www.newthoughtmens.community, featuring 22 New Thought speakers, ministers, and visionaries, sharing their wisdom of modern spiritual masculinity. New Thought Men's community, empowering wholeness, centered in spiritual living.
Yes, and we're back with more of the good news here on the New Thought Media Network. Thanks for joining us and sharing a part of your Friday evening. Or if you're watching this at another time, whatever day and time it is, thanks for checking out what we're sharing here on the good news. In a story that we have been following over the last couple of years, an ambitious plan to rewild 2,000 southern white rhinos in secured protected areas in Africa over the next 10 years has officially begun, with 40 of the majestic beasts are on their way to their new home in the Munywana Conservation in Zululand, South Africa. It's the first relocation of a continent-wide effort organized by African Parks called Rhino Rewild, and follows the recent acquisition of 2,000 southern white rhinos that had been privately owned by a multimillionaire who dreamed of keeping them in a preserve for the purpose of harvesting their horns, to flood the illegal rhino horn trade, and crash the price to disincentivize poaching. Now, the government decided that that wasn't going to work for them, and in the final court case, that has all been struck down, and therefore the rhinos are being donated to the Conservancy and brought back out into the wild. Their new home has a historic foundation. In 2007, over 20,000 acres of land were returned to its ancestral owners, and various indigenous communities as part of South Africa's land restitution process. Now, both those communities requested that the land continue to be kept under Conservancy. And through this legacy, the Conservancy now has just about 80,000 acres in reserve, held through a collaboration of community and private land ownerships. The millionaire breeder lost his case, 2,000 rhinos were donated to be rewilded, and it represents about 15% of the remaining wild population of southern white rhinos. We're doing good work, folks. We're doing good work to bring the rhinos back up. I didn't have the picture up. There it is. There's your picture of the rhinos. My apologies. All right, and here's another story that we've been following. Now, you might remember this one because it wasn't all that long ago. Earlier this year, a bus driver in Louisville, Kentucky, noticed that a young man named Levi, there we go, had a pajama problem and didn't have any pajamas for pajama day. Mr. Farish ran and purchased some pajamas, brought him back, and made sure he got to the young man. Well, this started a viral recognition, and a lot of people started to find out about it. And this past week, the ripple effect continues. EJ's PJs, an organization founded by Patricia Pogge in Long Island, New York, made a significant journey, traveling nearly 800 miles to Englehart Elementary. Partnering with Toys for Tots, they brought enough pajamas for all 300 students at the school. No, everybody got pajamas. Patricia, she started EJ's PJs with the mission to provide pajamas to children in need, praised Farish for embodying the spirit of her cause. Once she caught on to what Farish had done, she knew she had to get involved. She said, quote, "We want all of the Englehart Elementary School to have pajamas, and we don't want any of the kids to ever have the circumstance like little Levi had." What a pajama party, eh, folks? One small act of kindness, and we never know what the ripple effects might be in our lives. I just love these good news stories. And here's another one, and this one is happening in a way you might not expect in boxing. 21-year-old Bailey Greetham Clark is helping elderly folk in senior homes stay fit with boxing lessons, elevating both the fun and the focus. Now, back when he was 17, he was asked to speak at a daycare center for adults with educational needs. After his experience, Bailey realized that people from vulnerable groups do not have the access to sport and fitness as others do. So he started a well-being company called Be Great Fitness. He now travels throughout England, making fitness and sports accessible to schools, hospitals, community centers, and senior care homes. Now, especially during the COVID-19 lockdowns, the youth from Grimsby realized that these groups needed help and pretty quickly. Coming out of the pandemic, we thought it was essential to bring fitness to them, especially to spread some jeer and cheer. Sports and exercise cheer people up. We make jokes and have a laugh with everyone, and we make their day better. Well, success has been assured for Bailey. He now takes his fitness classes into 20 to 30 different care homes and guiding residents through 1-hour sessions. Everything from simple boxing drills to high hand-eye coordination. I just wonder, folks, does this lead to a retirees boxing club? We never know. We might see some people duking it out in their older years. Congratulations, sir. Thank you so much for being a part of the good news that's happening in America. We're going to take one more break, folks. Let just a little bit more of our sponsorship say hello, but we will be back with more of the good news after this. Stay tuned. We still have our hero of the week coming up.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center, Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center,
Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living, Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring. And we're back with more of the good news here on a Friday night. Thanks for being with us, folks. What a gorgeous evening it is, and I hope you're having a great start to your weekend as well. Here's a story that we heard something similar to back in 2020. Turns out that a farmer in Manitoba had such an amazing bumper crop of potatoes that, and this all happened last year, that he had 12 million pounds of surplus. Potatoes were coming out of the ground in such numbers that after fulfilling all his normal deliveries and quota, Hoffner still had over 10 million pounds of potatoes left. That number continued to grow with others in the area that had bumper crops adding into the total. People that have been in this industry for the last 40 years, they've never seen anything like this, said Hoffer. That said the farmer, his name is Hoffer. We had at least almost 100,000 bags of surplus potatoes. We had a few options, including leaving them to rot as fertilizer, turning them into animal feed, or selling at a tiny profit, or even a loss in such a flush market. In the end, Hofner followed his heart and resolved to give them all away. In his email inbox, he saw a letter from an industry group, Keystone Potato Producers Association, which happened to be spotlighting the work of a U.S. food charity outfit, FarmLink Project. Now, FarmLink arose from the government-enforced business closures and supply chain disruptions during the pandemic and was responsible for connecting farms with surplus food with food banks cut off from usual deliveries. This is where we first heard of FarmLink. Since 2020, they've rescued around 100 million pounds of food from going to waste on farms and distributing it to food banks across North America. 12 million. What a great story. I love this, folks. There is no need. There is no lack. There is an abundance, and there is more than enough for everything, and we've just got to know how to move it around. Good news. Hey, check this story out, because if you're a dog lover, and I never used to be, but I've grown into being one. As a dog lover, this is an amazing story. A helicopter pilot in Australia recently found a man's missing dog in the outback in what the owner called a needle in a haystack rescue. Now, if you've never seen images of cattle country in Australia, it might come as a surprise to know that because the ranches are so vast, farmers will often hire helicopter pilots to round up their cattle for them. In late April, pilot Jack Poplowski got a different sort of a call. A man had lost a dog and was desperate for help. Jamie Rooney was driving along in a remote part of West Australia's Pilbara region near the town of Newman, and coming across the large creek, he thought he'd let his dog Rocky go for a swim to cool off. The American Staffordshire Terrier was all too happy for the opportunity, but within a minute, he was out of sight and was unable to be found. After frantically looking around the water, Rooney drove up and down the trails in the area, standing on the roof and calling his dog's name, and poor Rocky never showed up. Well, earlier that day, I was driving past the airport. I could see all the helicopters go up, so I went online for helicopter search rescue and just called the number. A pilot was sent out, was able to find Rocky's tracks and track him back to his location. That's Rocky in taking another helicopter ride there. And Rocky's home safe. Gotta love these stories, folks. We've got one more, and then our hero of the week. And this first one was a close runner-up for hero of the week. I want to introduce you to Lillian Orlick. Lillian Orlick. She is still serving the students of a Virginia school system where she taught for 67 years. She retired at the age of 89 and made her transition last year. In her will, she left the Virginia school system $1 million bequeath. Known as Ms. O by generations of students, Lillian passed away on March 7th. Within a month, employees at Prince William County Schools learned the news of her generous donation. Now, some might be surprised that a high school teacher could save $1 million, but she had never married or had children, and friends say she lived a very frugal lifestyle. She spent most of her career at Osborne High School in Manassas and Osborne Park High School in the county outside of Washington, D.C. By the time she retired, the students and her colleagues had become her family. The $1 million donation was paid to Spark, the educational foundation for the PW County Schools. It would be used to expand a scholarship and set up with a scholarship that was set up with Spark after retiring 6 years ago. She had already benefited dozens of students who received cash grants for college through the Spark Foundation. Lillian Ulrich's devotion to this community is unprecedented because she dedicated her life's work over the course of the last 3/4 of a century, investing in our future leaders. According to the superintendent of schools, the footprints she left in our hearts and mind can never be erased, and her legacy lives on in the lives of the student and the staff she impacted. Thank you, Lillian, for being on the planet when you were. You will be missed, and you have made a difference, dear one. Thank you so much. And that leads us, folks, to our heroes of the week. We focus on a lot of stories here on the Good News Network, and this one comes to us from New Zealand. 2 brave line workers are being praised by local law enforcement for saving a motorist who was trapped in rapidly rising floodwaters. This all happened back on May 21st. A woman called the emergency services reporting that her car was stranded on a flooded section of road. As the water levels rose, the vehicle began to float and then to sink. The police emergency communicator stayed on the line and was deploying helicopters, police units, and a swift rescue team. However, before these resources could arrive, a line crew working nearby witnessed the perilous situation and took immediate action. The 2 workers leaped into the floodwaters, broke the car window, and pulled the driver to safety just in time. Moments later, her vehicle was completely submerged. Acting Sergeant Kyra Steiner commended the rescuers in a heartfelt social media post. "We cannot thank those rescuers enough. They likely saved a life today, and a family's loved one gets to come home tonight. Had they not been there, it quickly could have gone the wrong way. Myself and other officers who attended, as well as the woman they rescued, would like to say a massive thank you to those workers for their efforts today. They were very humble and downplayed their efforts when retelling the story. They put themselves at risk to save a stranger who will be forever grateful." In what I think is a New Zealand tradition, neither of the workers were named, and I was unable to find any pictures of them on the internet as well. But we want to say thank you, gentlemen. But nameless and anonymous, you are our heroes of the week. I want to thank you again. All right, folks, that's what I've got time for here today on the New Thought Media Network. Thanks for being a part of what we're doing. Thanks for your donations. Thanks for helping us share this fine message out across the world and into all those TV sets, all those computers, everywhere somebody's watching. And this all makes a difference. We want to thank you for being a part of what we do. We'll be back with this show again next week, 5 p.m. Mountain Time on Friday night. Stay tuned. In just a half an hour, Reverend Michael Mangus has a great interview with D.E. Polk on his show, The Fireside Chat. That starts at 6, The Fireside Chat with Reverend Michael Mangus and his special guest this evening, Reverend D.E. Polk out of Atlanta. I'm Robert. I'm out of here. I love you. I think you're amazing, and I can't wait to be with you again. Until then, however, I wish you peace and richest blessings. Bye now.